Flesh and blood. 3 simple words, 2 primary ingredients in my body, and 1 incredibly exciting strategic card game from Legend Story Studios. You might be used to TCGs in which you assemble armies, lay trap cards, or force cute animals to fight to the death. We've seen it. But Flesh and Blood takes a different and thrilling approach. One-on-one battle between just the 2 heroes. You'll equip armor, deal powerful attacks, and defend yourself from damage. But it's always just you versus your opponent. Your flesh versus their blood, and vice versa. You wanna learn how to play? Let's get into the bones of this game. Well, wait, no bones, it's just flesh and blood. So how do their bodies stand upright? Flesh and Blood is a TCG in which you build a deck and duel to your heart's content. It's a fantasy combat game centered around the heroes in which you'll strive to bring your opponents to 0 life points in single combat using actions, clever sequencing, and shrewd resource management. While there are multiple formats of play you can choose from, for this tutorial we'll demonstrate with the pre-constructed First Strike Blitz decks. These decks are great for learning the game and are a fast-paced introduction to the unique gameplay of Flesh and Blood. For Blitz, you'll play using 1 hero card, 1 weapon card, 4 armor cards, and a 40-card deck. First things first, we need a playmat. We'll use this one with a handy reference for the zones of play. You have a spot for your hero, weapon slots to hold your trusty sword, hammer, or other weapon of choice, armor slots, a place for your deck, the pitch zone where you pitch cards to generate resources, the graveyard where discarded cards go, and the banish zone where banished cards go. Plus, below your hero, the arsenal, where you can store 1 card to be played on a future turn. Let's break down the anatomy of each card. Your hero card is your avatar in the duel. In Blitz, you'll play as a young hero, like me. This version of the hero has only 20 life points, like me, making this a faster introductory format. On the card, you'll see the card name. This is your hero. There are older versions of the same hero for other formats, and variants of the same heroes with different abilities and classes. Starting life. Young heroes have 20 life points for faster gameplay. In other formats, older heroes have 40 life for a more intense battle, and they probably look really good at 40. I'm not obsessed with age, it's a game mechanic. It's a game mechanic. Intellect. This is your hand size. At the end of your turn, you'll draw up to this number of cards. Most heroes' intellect is 4. Card type. This is your hero's class and talent. Aurora, for instance, is a Rune Blade class with an elemental talent. Your deck can only use cards that match your hero's talent or that have generic in their card type. Also note that Aurora has Essence of Lightning, a card effect that allows you to play lightning cards in your deck. Shocking! But wait, what's a card effect, you asked? Card effects are the abilities found in the text box. Think of these as your hero's powers. Aurora has a once per turn instant, giving her an action she can take. And because it's an instant ability, it can be taken at any time without spending an action point. More on what that means later. Other heroes like Terra may have a triggered ability synergizing with his gameplay. There are also passive abilities that can buff attacks and so on. These abilities shape play as they represent the key synergies of the deck. At the beginning of the game, you'll pick your equipment, including weapons and armor. First, let's check out Aurora's weapon, Starfall. Weapon cards have a name and a card type. Next to the card type, you'll see either 1H or 2H. Since in Flesh and Blood you play as an individual hero with a total of 2 hands, you can handle 2 one-handed weapons or 1 two-handed weapon, no foot wielding allowed. Your weapon also has a damage value seen here in the yellow spear icon. This is how much damage this weapon's attack inflicts. Starfall does 1 damage, pretty straightforward, or you might say, to the point. Weapons also have card abilities. Many of them have a once per turn action. Starfall has attack. We'll get into actions and how to pay for them, the red pitch cost right here, later. Starfall also has a persistent ability that increases its damage value and grants you another action with the keyword Go Again. Go Again is a common and powerful keyword that allows you to string actions together for explosive turns. Your hero has 4 armor slots: head, chest, arms, and legs. The armor you select may have actions, reactions, instant abilities, plus they can be used to defend in combat. Usually though, when you use equipment, it will break or wear down, so it's a limited resource. Check out the Rotten Old Buckler. If you use it to defend, you destroy it after combat. Finally, action cards. Action cards are the bread and butter of Flesh and Blood. Action cards have a name: card effects, power, this is like damage on a weapon, defense value, a card type, a cost, and a pitch value. Costs and pitch values create Flesh and Blood's unique resource system. The cost is the amount of resource points you need to spend to play this card. The pitch value, conversely, is the amount of resource points generated by pitching that card into the pitch zone. With this cost and resource point system, you'll manage your hand by pitching cards you don't want to play to pay for the cards and abilities you do want to use. Some cards, like Crackling, are free to play, costing 0 resource points, though Crackling can be pitched to generate 1 resource point. Redwood Hammer has a once per turn action that costs 3 resources, so you'd need to pitch cards with a total pitch value of 3 to use its ability, like this Bracken Wrap, which gives you 1 resource, and this Autumn's Touch that gives you 2 resources. That's a total of 3 resource points. Or you might pitch this Autumn's Touch that gives you 3 resource points. That's right, they can have different resource points for the same card. Looking at those 3 cards, you can see the visual reference. The top bar of the card is color-coded to its pitch value: red for 1, yellow for 2, and blue for 3. I know a lot of this might seem a little abstract right now, so let's get into gameplay and it will all start to come together. You and your opponent will each choose your hero and reveal them at the same time. For the first Strike Blitz decks, there's no choice to make here. You'll play as Aurora and Terra. Then you'll determine who goes first. You might flip a coin, roll a die, or you could use our recommended method, see who has the most flesh or the most blood. Each player then picks equipment cards from their inventory. You'll select 1 head, chest, arm, and leg armor, as well as 1 two-handed weapon or 2 one-handed weapons. These will be placed face down in their respective slots on the playmat or play area. Then each player shuffles their deck, cuts their opponent's deck, and reveals their equipment. Draw an opening hand, up to your hero's intellect, and then you're ready to start playing. On your turn, you have 1 action point. You use this to, you flashed it, take an action. You might use a weapon or hero's action, or play an action card like Static Shock. What you can see at the bottom is an attack action. We'll go over the specifics of combat in just a bit. Remember Go Again? It pairs well with an action card like Static Shock, which has a conditional benefit if you've played a lightning card previously in the turn. Your weapons and armor can also be used as actions. Starfall, for instance, has a once per turn attack action, and Blossom of Spring, a chest armor, has an action that gains you 1 resource. Both in flavor and playstyle, Flesh and Blood is a combat game, so let's dig in. A unique aspect of Flesh and Blood is the combat chain. Combat is made up of 1 or more chain links, and you can see on the playmat where the combat chain plays out between the 2 players. There are 4 steps in a combat chain. 1. The attack step. The attacking player makes an attack, either playing an attack card or activating an attack action from a weapon. 2. Defending window. The defending player may defend with any number of cards from their hand. All defense cards are declared simultaneously. 3. Reaction window. Time for combat tricks. The attacking player can play attacking reaction cards, and the defending player can play defense reaction cards, paying their costs as usual. And finally, damage calculation. Compare the total power of the attack with the total value of the defense in this chain link. The defending hero takes damage equal to the difference between the attack power and the defense value. If the hero takes damage, the attack hits, which might trigger some cards' abilities like Go Again, giving the attacking player another attack to add to that combat chain. At end of turn, the combat chain closes. Weapons are returned to their zones and all other cards on the combat chain are put into their graveyards. Before you draw cards up to your intellect, if you have extra cards in your hand and your arsenal is empty, you may put one card face down in the arsenal. You may play that card from arsenal by paying its cost as usual on future turns, but only play. You cannot pitch or discard from arsenal. Then any cards in your pitch zone are put on the bottom of your deck in whatever order you choose. In Flesh and Blood, it's common to go through your deck at least once in a game, so the cards you pitch and order you place them in can be integral to your strategy. Finally, you draw cards up to your hero's intellect, and that's a turn. If it's the first turn of the game though, there's one difference, and it's one of the most tactically interesting parts of Flesh and Blood, the first turn of the game rule. On the first turn of the game, all players draw cards back up to their hero's intellect, not just the player whose turn it is. This means unlike many other TCGs, there isn't an inherent advantage to going first or second. It all depends on your deck, your opponent's deck, and what strategy you're taking to the dueling grounds. And those are the basics of Flesh and Blood with the First Strike Blitz decks. I'm Becca Scott. This is Good Time Society, and I'm hoping you're gonna use your action to like this video, which obviously has Go Again, and then subscribe to the channel. There's zero cost actions after all, and we're gonna have gameplay videos of Flesh and Blood and more coming out in the near future. Or if you're already in the near future, hi, how's it going? Do we have flying cars yet? Anyway, click right here to see some Blitz decks in action. See you next time.